Good afternoon. Hope you're having a great week. It is Thursday, April 24th, 4 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time, local time here in Washington. I'm going through Snoqualmie Pass on I-90 eastbound. Lots of drama. We'll talk about it. I am 27 miles from a rest area, and that is where I'm going to park and take a 10-hour break. So what is going on? Well, I booked this load a couple of days ago. I think I booked it on Tuesday. And it's a load going from, I cannot remember the name of the town in Washington, Anastaco or something like that. I can't remember. It's, I don't know, somewhere around like 50 miles north of Seattle. It's some little port town. And it's a load for Marathon, the fossil fuel company. I hate the word fossil fuel. I need to figure out some other term to use because just saying oil and gas, that doesn't really encapsulate everything that they do. Because a lot of them, like, it's petroleum products, like all kinds of stuff. And I really don't think it's fossil fuels. It's just absurd to think that oil is made from biomass. We have massive, absolutely massive, like lakes, underground lakes of oil. How in the world would that much biomass all get clumped into one spot? I don't know why we still call it fossil fuels. We have no idea how it's made. And somebody a long time ago had this crazy idea that it was made from biomass, from ancient plants and animals. That just doesn't make any sense. But anyway, a lot of drama with the load. It's a load going from Anastaco or something, Washington, to Williston, North Dakota. It's hazardous waste. So it's placarded, it's heavy. It was listed on the load listing as 43,000 pounds. It ended up only being 36,000 pounds, but still heavy. So what all drama did I run into? Well, when we started loading the trailer, they talked to me about how they were planning on loading it and wanted my opinion on the matter. And when they explained to me what they were planning on doing, I was like, okay, well, for that information to matter, I need to know the weights of the items you're putting in. You said the load is 36,000 pounds and it's only 7 pallets. And you just want to double stack them in, side by side in the nose of the trailer. I said, no, that's not going to work. I'll be way overweight. You can't put that much weight in the nose of the trailer. And so we talked. About possible configurations, and I said ideally we would put them in there the way that you described, that's they would be the most stable that way, but there's no way I could scale it. It's not going to be legal on weight. The only way that we have a chance of having it legal on weight is if we just line them up down the center. And that's what we ended up doing, was just lining them up down the center. And it's still scaled overweight. I was 37,120 pounds on my drive axles, which is 3,120 pounds overweight. So I had to come back and get reworked. And I said the only way that we're going to be able to get it to scale is if we move the stuff away from the front of the trailer. We got to move it more toward the center. And I asked him if he had anything that we could, put in there as a buffer. And I noticed they had and he said no. And I said, I noticed that you got pallets over there. Can we use pallets? And he said no. It's like, you're real helpful, man. And he said the agent said that you would build a strap wall. She said you guys do it all the time. It's like, really? Did she? Strap wall, huh? Yeah, there's a lot of lies that people spread. So apparently this strap wall is normal for us truck drivers to do. And so I had to do a strap wall because that's the only thing that the customer would like. He didn't have any other options for me. I'm pretty sure that a strap wall is illegal. Straps. I don't think that they are sufficient securement to stop forward movement. And I don't really care how, I put the straps in. I created the strap wall. And they're like, do you want to use more straps? I was like, no. I used 4 straps. And they're like, what are those things rated for? Like 3,000 pounds? So that's only like 12,000 pounds with 4 straps. You think you should put some more? I was like, I think my straps are rated for somewhere between 4,000 and 5,000 pounds, but no, I think those 4 straps are sufficient. And I didn't really want to have the debate with them, but here's the deal. The E-tracks that the straps go into are going to fail before my straps snap. The walls of the trailer cannot support that much weight. If I have to slam on my brakes and all those things start sliding, my straps are not going to snap. They're going to rip out of the walls. So it's not a matter of having a whole bunch of straps. It's an issue of what the straps are connected to. It's not designed for that much weight. Come on, pickup. But we did the strap wall on the front. And I'm just going to have to drive real careful. I always drive real careful. But just try to be a little extra cautious. But I didn't even bother scaling the load whenever we reworked the load, since we put it in the center of the trailer, because I know it's scaled. I know it's legal now, as long as it doesn't move. So what other drama did we have with the load? They had the wrong placards. They had just normal flammable solid 4s. What's going on with the motorcycle guy? But the whole trailer is full of flammable 4. The same flammable 4. The same UN number. And if you have, I think it's 8,800 pounds of the exact same hazardous material that requires placards in a trailer, then you have to have a placard that has the UN number on it. You can't just have a regular flammable 4. You have to have a flammable 4 that has the UN number of what you have in the trailer. So that was one issue. Another issue was that the description of the hazardous material on the paperwork was incorrect. It did not match the description in the hazmat books. So they had to change the paperwork. He had to go make new placards. He didn't have the exact placards that we needed, but he had some very similar ones. They were off by one number. I can't remember what UN we have, 3178, and he had placards that were flammable 4 that were 3175s. The last number was one number off. It was a 5 instead of an 8. And he peeled off the 5. He scraped it off. And he had 8s that were like cutouts or whatever that he was able to tape on in that spot. And I sent a picture of it to Landstar's hazmat people, and they were like, yeah, that'll work. So we got the paperwork corrected. We got the right placards. We reworked the trailer and got the weight distributed correctly. And then I finally got out of there. So why did they screw up on so much stuff? Well, this guy has been working there at that Marathon refinery doing that job for 40 years. And he said that up until 2 months ago, they had been moving all of this hazardous waste on rail cars with the railroad. And then 2 months ago, the railroad told him that they were no longer going to be hauling that crap because they were using a special rail car to haul it. And they said that they were basically discontinuing that rail car. They were no longer going to be using that rail car, so they wouldn't be able to haul his stuff anymore. So then he had to start moving it by truck. So Landstar has been moving all this stuff for him for the last 2 months, like several loads per week. I think they had 4 loads this week. Well, those were the ones they had left. It was Thursday. It was already late in the week. They had me and another driver today. So 2 of us today, and then 1 on Friday, and then 1 on Saturday. So who knows how many loads per week over the last 2 months they've been moving. But every single one of the loads that they've been hauling, they've had the wrong information on the paperwork. And they've been running with the wrong placards. And I'm pretty sure that all of the people hauling vans, all the dry van people, have been overweight. Why do I say that about the overweight? The people that loaded me were confused with my concerns about the weight. Whenever I told them that there's no way they could load it the way that they wanted it loaded, the way that they said they had been loading it, and it would be legal, I said there's no way that you can load it that way and it'll be legal. They kind of thought that I was being a drama queen, with having them load it the way that I had them load it, like lining everything up down the center. And I was like, well, like, what are other people doing? Like, you've been doing a lot of these loads, right? And he's like, yeah. I said, well, what is everybody else doing? And he said, everybody else just tells me to throw it all up in the front and they'll slide the tandems all the way forward and it'll be fine. I said, that's just not possible. You can't put 40,000 pounds in the nose of the trailer and scale it. Just a second here. I'm behind a slow vehicle and we're coming up on a way station. This person is going 48 miles an hour. The car speed limit is 70. The truck speed limit is 60. Oh, now they're speeding up. All right, that way station looks like it's out of order. I didn't even see a sign saying whether it was closed. I saw signs that there was a way station, but they've got the thing concreted up and barrels blocking it. All right, this person sped up to 60 and now he's slowing back down again. He just keeps slowing down more and more. We're down to 54. All right, we're just going to pass because I don't like people in front of me that just keep yo-yoing like that, speeding up and slowing down, because it just keeps somebody at a dangerous distance in front of me. So the people that loaded me basically said they've never had any issue. Like, I'm the only person that's ever mentioned a problem with being overweight and having any kind of problem with how they load the trailer. But whenever I contacted the agent, because I had to do a loaded call, I had to send a picture of the paperwork to the agent and then call them to do a loaded call. Whenever I called them, I brought up the issue with the weight, and I said that I don't think it's going to scale. I said that we just loaded it down the center, but still, even loading it down the center, I explained to them what I just explained to you. And they said, yeah, we've had a lot of issues with the vans being overweight. So the agent is telling me that they've had a lot of issues with the vans being overweight, but the people that are loading the trailers have never heard of any overweight issues, and they've just been nose loading everybody. So that tells me that the people are not scaling the loads. They're not bringing it back to get reworked. They're just getting tickets going across scale houses for being overweight. And I think the reason is because of the way that they put the weights on the paperwork. On the paperwork, they have the hazardous material, and then they have the weight of the hazardous material. And then hidden down in the notes, there's a listing for gross weight. And that's your actual weight of the load. The weight of the hazmat material is just the stuff that's inside the containers. It doesn't include the container weight. And the hazmat is inside these huge metal containers that weigh about 1,000 pounds apiece. So my product weight is 29,000 pounds. But my total weight is 36,000 pounds because I have 7 of these 1,000 pound containers in there. Now, yeah, if it was only 29,000 pounds, then maybe they might be able to nose load it the way that they were talking about, and I might be able to scale that. But 36,000 pounds? No way. So I think that's the reason so many people were telling them it was okay to nose load it, is because they weren't looking at the total weight. They were just looking at the weight of the hazardous materials. And there's a pretty big difference between the two. It's not a couple hundred pounds. All right, what do we got going on here? Well, I had a nice big rock hit my window. Great, great, great. I can't get over. .6 miles until the rest area. So how did we scale the load? I think I already talked about that. Did I mention that? I don't like it. I think it's illegal how we got it scaled. They didn't have any materials that I could use to move the weight further back in the trailer to get it out of the nose. They had pallets around there. I asked them if I could use the pallets. They said no. They wouldn't let me use anything. They told me that the agent told them that I would build a strap wall and that we do that kind of stuff all the time. I laughed. I was like, yeah, that's not a thing. I'm pretty sure that straps are not legal as like forward securement. So anyway, I did the strap wall. And we loaded it in there. And I hope it doesn't shift on me. I've gone through one weigh station and didn't have any issues so far. but that doesn't really mean anything. These weigh stations are not very good at finding problems. There are people that go through with illegal stuff and don't get caught in weigh stations all the time. I will say that the load does feel really good. It feels very balanced. When it was real nose heavy, I could definitely feel that. All right, 2 miles from the rest area. So yeah, I've been awake for a really long time, and I've burned up all of my hours dealing with all the drama, picking up this load. So I was planning on putting a lot more miles on today, but this is it. At least I'm able to make it out of the Seattle area. And now I can park and go to sleep. And it looks like I'm going to have to idle the truck for air conditioning because it's 70-some degrees outside. With the windows down, and the fan going, during the daytime when there's direct sunlight, I'm lucky if I can keep it within 10 degrees of the outside temperature. So if it's 70 degrees outside, I'll be lucky if I can keep it 80 in here. If I'm in really direct sunlight, then it'll be like 90 or 100 in here when it's 70 outside. All right, here's the rest area.
Take the exit, then slide right.
And I am really tired. I've been awake for...
Slide right, then your destination will be on the left.
Oh my goodness, I woke up about 6 a.m. yesterday. So 6 a.m. to 6 a.m. is 24 hours. And then 6 a.m. to 4. Like, what is that? Sorry, I'm looking for a spot.
In 300 feet, you will arrive at your destination.
Great.
Arrived.
Got a bunch of weekend warriors packed in here. There we go. We got a spot. And then there's a couple more spots a little bit further down. All right. I think we're good to go. Oh. Oh, I'm tired. Yeah, I think I'm going to have to idle for air conditioning. Otherwise, I'm just not going to be able to sleep. It'll just be too damn hot in here. Come on, okay button. This ELD is annoying.
You have 0 hours and 18 minutes of remaining drive time.
So yeah, that's what's going on with me, and unfortunately I am so tired I can't even really remember what I've said. But yeah, tons of drama today, picking up the load, and hopefully there's not going to be any more drama for the rest of the trip. I'm not really very far behind schedule. I ended up getting out of there, I think, around 1 p.m. So I got there at 8 a.m. and my expectation was that I'd be out of there by 10 a.m. and I ended up getting out of there like, I don't know, 1:30. So with everything that happened, it only took an extra about 3 hours. But that 3 hours cost me 3 hours of drive time because I started running up against my 14-hour clock. And I'm really tired. So I'm going to see what the temperature is outside, see if it's cool enough that I can just roll the windows down. I would love to not idle the engine and waste fuel. I really need to get the wiring issue fixed on my APU. It's just something that it's just going to be a time consuming thing. I think it's going to be fairly easy to do. It's just going to be really time consuming because I have to take the entire shell off of the APU, which is a pain in the butt. The top part is easy. I take that off all the time. But the bottom part, you have to disconnect the exhaust pipe, and it's a pain in the butt. But I need to get that fixed so that I can use my air conditioner on the APU. But anyway, hope you're having a great week. And I'm going to get some sleep, and I'll probably try to make another driving video when I'm driving tonight. Bye.